Chapter 3. Are you ready for the truth? Let's pause and play devil's advocate, because over the years, I've heard all the different arguments and I kind of already know what the naysayers are going to say. It might sound like this. I'm happy that you've been able to buy tons of properties over the years, Kris. Really, I'm thrilled for you, man. But I have no idea how to buy houses that actually make money without creating a nightmare of work and all that extra hassle. Listen, I get it. In Chapter 6, I will explain why it's possible to get into the real estate game in a way that is turnkey, automated, and eliminates the undesirables, such as being a landlord. But wait till we get there. Don't get stuck in the tunnel. A fleet of nothing but single-digit ROI investment vehicles gives me all the wrong emotions. The sheer thought fills me with the same panic I felt when I worked that commission-only telemarketing job inside 4 tiny gray walls. Let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with a single-digit ROI unless all of your investment vehicles produce single-digit returns. If your investments are all earning single-digit ROIs, it becomes mathematically impossible for them to manifest your financial dreams. What looks so safe and risk-free will end up being the riskiest choice that you could ever make. By investing in society's accepted investment vehicles, you will not have enough financial fuel to reach your retirement destination. You'll be left stalled in the tunnel with no end in sight. Despite the way it may look, I'm not here to wage war against society's investment vehicles. I'm here to get you to think differently, to think bigger, to break out from your old programming so that you can discover something better. Rather than take my word for it, in the next section, we'll do some straightforward math to empower you to understand 1, what you already have, 2, what you need, and 3, the best plan to get you there. It's your retirement, and that means that you need to take ownership of it and gain the confidence that only comes from educating yourself. One of my personal passions in life is to provide a financial game plan that can predict when you will become financially free with far more accuracy than society's defunct plan. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that society's plan, in many cases, is a total sham because it really isn't a plan at all. Plans are supposed to get you to an end goal, to a target, or to a desired result. Yet, society's financial plan accomplishes exactly none of those things. Your retirement path should not be riddled with ambiguities and guesswork. You should be able to look at your current financial strategy and determine whether it is sufficient to create the future that you want. Once I did the simple math, I changed my strategy. Within a few years, I became financially free. And today, I'm earning double-digit, triple-digit, and quadruple-digit ROIs. I also live with confidence and joy because I'm making more than enough money to live my dream lifestyle, stash away cash, and have it all. Rule of 72, your valuable vetting tool. It's time to further awaken your financial genius. And for today, that starts with teaching you the rule of 72. All right, I'm about to dive into the basics of how you do this super simple calculation of the rule of 72 because it's super important for you to be able to look at an investment and ask yourself, how long will it take for my money to double? So get that pen and paper out again, and I want you to follow along. Here's the equation. First of all, on the left side of your page, you're going to write the number 72. It's just a magic coefficient. It's a magic number that takes compound interest roughly into account. And then next to 72, you're going to write the division sign, divide by R, which stands for the interest rate. And what that's going to equal after that is T, which stands for how many years will it take for me to double my investment. You see, the rule of 72 is an easy and practical way to calculate how long T, an investment, will take to double if compounded at a fixed annual rate of interest, R. So the ultimate goal of the rule of 72 is simply to show the power of compounding interest, a principle that Albert Einstein once called the most powerful force in the world. Definition time. Compounding interest. Noun. A powerful way to earn interest on the interest you receive, which multiplies your money at an accelerating rate. Speaking of Einstein, he's often credited with being the architect of the rule of 72, although Luca Pacioli, a renowned mathematician from Italy, is reportedly the first person who appeared to reference the rule in his 1994 book on mathematics called Summa de Arithmetica. I hope you feel smart. It turns out that while determining compounding interest the long way is an extremely complicated equation, someone, maybe it was Pacioli or maybe it was Einstein, found a cheat code. They discovered that dividing 72 by the annual interest rate always leads to the right amount of time it takes to double an investment. In this way, the number 72 in the world of finance holds the same mysterious magical power of Archimedes' constant, otherwise known as pi, 3.14 and a million other digits. Fortunately, that's about as deep as we need to dive into the history of the mathematics for this book. And even better, the math we will be doing is straightforward and super easy to calculate. All right, ready for some easy math? No guesswork required. I will walk you through step by step each calculation. It takes just seconds. So open your calculator app to your smartphone and let's do some basic calculations together. All right, we're going to go through a couple of examples. In this first one, let's do it based on something real practical that you're familiar with, a savings account, right? Like you take your hard-earned savings, you bring it to the bank, and they hold on to that. And you may not even be aware that every year the bank sends you a little piece of paper in the mail that tells you how much money you made, or rather that they're paying you because you saved money in their bank. Usually it's a really small ROI. It's probably 0.0 nothing percent. But for the sake of the example, let's assume that you're getting an interest rate of 0.25% annual interest rate. That basically means they're giving you 0.25% of interest just for keeping your money in the bank. Well, let's do the math. Divide 72 by the annual interest rate, which is R, to calculate the approximate time required to double your investment. So if you got that pen and paper, you would take 72 and you divide it by 0.25. And what does it equal? 288 years, which means that if you were putting money in the bank and hoping for it to eventually double one day, you would need a few lifetimes to witness that, because at 0.25% interest rate, it would take 288 years for that to double. By the way, isn't this fun? Like, this is practical math. When we were kids, we learned that a bank account is where you put your money to keep it safe. Today, many adults still keep money safe in the bank, and they're earning no more than 0.25% ROI, often less. So let's say, for example, that you have $10,000 in a savings account, earning an annual fixed rate of 0.25%. How many years would it take for you to double your money? Well, take 288 years. With a single-digit ROI at 0.25%, that $10,000 will take a ridiculous 288 years to go from $10,000 to $20,000. Whoa, Kris, devil's advocate moment. But Kris, I wasn't putting my money in the bank expecting it to grow into anything. I was just trying to keep it safe. Did you know that money loses 2 to 3% of its value every year? When you store it in a place earning less than 2 or 3%, it's actually creating a negative return. Ironically, money itself provides such an inferior store of value because when this country needs more money, guess what we do? We print more money. This causes the value of the dollar to drop slowly over time. And that is the underlying cause of inflation, which, by the way, over the last century has averaged 3.1%. We print money like it's coupons for Wendy's, and even more concerning, our money is backed by basically nothing. Even when the dollar was backed by gold, the US government would adjust the gold to dollar ratio with regularity, essentially muting any effects of the currency's gold backing. But don't worry about it, because in Chapter 5, I will show you a safer place to stash your cash that earns a minimum of 5% a year. Let's do another example. Let's talk about 401ks. Earlier, we talked about the 30-year average ROI on a 401k is 5% yearly. So let's do the math. You're going to take your calculator, or if you're writing it out, we're going to take 72 and we're going to divide it by that ROI of 5%. 72 divided by 5 means that your 401k's value will double every 14.4 years. Isn't that helpful? We're going to do a third example. What happens if you're earning, let's just say 8% because you found a blended ROI in the stock market? Okay, 72 divided by 8. Okay, there we go. 9 years. It'll take 9 years to double my money. So just by way of an example, let's just say you had $10,000 sitting in the S&P 500 Earning 8%, it will take you 9 years before that $10,000 doubles to $20,000. You've already elevated your financial genius by being able to compare these three options side by side. Now let's take a look at these three common financial choices: putting money in a savings account, a 401k, or the S&P 500. Let's take a look at them graphically. If you look at them all side by side, even from a quick glance, it's easy to see how the higher ROI at 8% begins to grow exponentially faster and outperforms the 5% ROI, and it's certainly a lot bigger than the 0.25% ROI that you earn on a basic savings account. I want to pause for a moment to reflect on that word exponential. There's a reason why Albert Einstein allegedly declared that compounding interest is the greatest financial invention of all time. And you can see that logic when you compare the fact that a savings account at 0.25% is going to take 288 years to double, but on the other hand, it only takes 9 years to double that same pile of money at an 8% yearly ROI. My friend, you are getting left in the dust. Every job trades time for dollars. You put in X number of hours and you get X amount of money in return, or what I call financial fuel. When you pump your hard-earned financial fuel into outdated investment vehicles, you find that they don't go very far. And here's why. On average, you have a 40-year working life. How many times can you double your money in 40 years? Let's assume you're like most of the country and your money is earning an average of 6%. That means that your money doubles every 12 years, according to the rule of 72, right? 72 divided by 6 equals 12 years to double your money. If you work for 40 years, how many times can your money double if it takes 12 years to double? Well, you can double your money at most, maybe 3 times. Meanwhile, all of these financial planners are coasting along on the open highway, making money hand over fist by managing your money, and your money is stuck in a traffic jam making other people money. In short, you're getting left in the dust. But before we go any further, I need to ask you an important question. Have you ever thought about how much money you actually need to retire comfortably? Most people save for retirement without ever having an answer to that all-important question. How in the world can you reach a destination if you don't even know what it is? You can only know if your financial game plan is adequate once you have a concrete and defined financial retirement goal. Remember earlier when I said that you would need $2.9 million at a 3% interest rate to produce $95,000 of interest each year for retirement? Well, let's just assume for a moment that $2.9 million is your goal. Here's an analogy. You're in Los Angeles with no money, but you need to get to New York City. That's where the $2.9 million awaits. So you go to work and you trade your time for money. And each dollar you save over what you spend goes towards the $2.9 million. This is the absolute slowest way to amass $2.9 million. And frankly, it's like trying to walk to New York City. You have no vehicle and you'll never save up $2.9 million by putting a few spare dollars under the mattress every paycheck. When you put your dollars in a vehicle like a 401k, your money starts to move a little faster and the results are definitely far better than stuffing money under a mattress. However, is a 401k or the other vehicles we've discussed ultimately the right pick to get you to your $2.9 million destination? Listen, maybe if you lived for several hundred years, it would eventually work, but frankly, that's not going to happen. Remember, reality and research tell us that the average amount a person takes with him or her into retirement is a paltry $172,000, only 6% of $2.9 million. If you're serious about getting to New York and having $2.9 million or more, then you're going to need to consider 2 things. Number 1, the right investment vehicle. If you use slow-moving vehicles, you may never make it to your financial destination. You need faster vehicles. And number 2, you need high-performing financial fuel. You need your money to earn a notable return. You traded your time for it, and now you need to put it to work. The fuel is your ROI. And with a low ROI, your money isn't working hard enough. With a higher ROI, your financial fuel will definitely take you further. So we've taken a look at the 5 traditional investment vehicles that are old and slow. I've called the 401k the front end loader, averaging 5%. I've called the IRA the bicycle. It's cute and adorable, but it's only bringing in 7%. I've referred to the S&P 500 as a tractor, plodding along at a basic 8% 30-year average. Then, of course, you've got your home equity, which is like the antique car. It looks pretty, but it doesn't actually do anything for you and it doesn't make you money. And then you've got annuities with a paltry 3.27%. And I call it the ice cream truck because it'll dish out a little bit along the way, but not nearly what you need. It really comes down to this. If you were in a race for financial freedom, which of these investment vehicles would you want to ensure your future? Would it be a front-end loader, a bicycle, an antique car that probably doesn't drive, an ice cream truck, a tractor? In nearly 20 years of interviewing over 10,000 people, I have yet to meet a single person who chose these inferior vehicles and got even halfway to $2.9 million or more. You will not have enough money to retire when you use slow, outdated investment vehicles. Not to mention, you're going to run out of financial fuel long before you get to New York City. And I hate to break it to you, but the tunnel of broken dreams is fresh out of filling stations. Bottom line, it's time to upgrade your investment fleet and power them all with superior financial fuel. Get ready for high performance. The time has come to talk about upgraded vehicles that give you a real shot at achieving financial freedom. My study of the wealthy revealed these 5 vehicles. My mentorship with wealthy influencers helped me implement these 5 vehicles into my personal financial freedom roadmap. And my friendship with millionaires and billionaires continues to accelerate and celebrate my results and impact they have on the world, including you. Let me introduce you to your new financial fleet. These bad boys are fast and furious. They start with the armored truck, which is your single-digit ROI, moves on to a sports car, where I'm going to teach you how to earn double-digit ROI. We're going to move on to our race car, where I'm going to teach you triple-digit ROI. I'm going to then move you into the Formula One car for quadruple-digit ROI. And then finally on a private jet, where I'm going to teach you how to earn an infinite ROI. We're going to spend plenty of time breaking these down, but for now, let's use the sports car, the double-digit ROI, and revisit the rule of 72 and the power of compounding interest. In this example of the rule of 72, let's take one of these vehicles that I'm going to teach you about that earns the possibility of 25% annual ROI and see how long it takes to double money. Now listen, since you've already awoken your financial genius, this should be pretty easy. Imagine for a moment that you're earning 25% from your investment. How many years would it take to double your money given that same $10,000 starting investment we used earlier? 72 divided by 25 equals, drum roll, 2.88 years. Now just pause and think about that for a moment. With the double-digit ROI at 25%, that same $10,000 that would take 288 years to double in a savings account can actually now double in just 2.88 years. Let's take the math a step further so that you can really start to see the power of ROI. You see, a 25% ROI grows 27 times more money than a 6% ROI over a 20-year span. So just imagine for a moment what that looks like. If you put $10,000 in a gas tank of a 6% ROI investment vehicle over 20 years, it will turn into $32,000. Again, $10,000 over 20 years at 6% turns into $32,000. But on the other hand, if you put that same $10,000 in a gas tank in a 25% ROI investment vehicle over that same 20 years, it produces $870,000. So imagine the power of 25% ROI or more. And imagine the power of building your multi-million-dollar financial game plan to turn your dreams into an actual reality. In part 2, I will teach you all about your new financial fleet of investment vehicles and what they can really do for you. Quote time, money makes money, and the money that money makes money. That comes from Benjamin Franklin, and that's his way of saying that the more money you make, the more money that money can make. So, what can these 5 new financial investment vehicles do for you? Well, 3 things. Number 1, first comes security. You'll learn how to prepare for security the right way. I'll show you my single digit ROI investment vehicle, the only one I use, that will help you establish security for the present. Number 2, next comes speed. You're then going to discover the 3 investment vehicles that are like race cars. We're talking about traveling cross country from LA to New York City faster and in style. These are the double digit, triple digit, and quadruple digit ROIs. And number 3, then comes exponential growth. Finally, I will introduce you to my ultimate financial shortcut, an infinite ROI. It's like flying in your own private jet. After all, the fastest way from LA to New York City is in the air. Still, all the vehicles in my arsenal are far superior to society's broken down investment vehicles. We've reached the end of part 1. The goal of the first 3 chapters was to expose society's broken plan and to preview a new plan designed to fully awaken the financial genius that is already inside of you. You may not feel like a genius yet, but believe it or not, you now have the foundation you need to more readily understand the financial freedom roadmap in the next chapter that lays the groundwork for the rest of the book. Quote time: "The best way to predict your future is to create it." Abraham Lincoln. All right, chapter 3, checkpoint. Let's take a look at what we've been talking about. Number 1, society tells us that we have to trust the experts and discourages bucking the system that has been in place for far too long. Number 2, the tunnel of broken dreams is a sad place where 5 slow investment vehicles, 401ks, IRAs, annuities, S&P 500, and home equity run out of gas and leave nothing behind but regret. Number 3, the rule of 72 is a vetting tool to show whether you are being too conservative, as well as how far your current investment vehicles will get you. Number 4, when you apply the rule of 72, you'll see that single-digit ROIs can't earn money fast enough to reach your financial destination. Number 5, compounding is the most tremendous financial force in the universe. That is, as long as you're compounding something more exciting than a single-digit ROI. And number 6, diversification is key. In other words, you want a fleet with a wide range of ROIs from single digit to infinite ROIs.